What's next for the undisputed champion at 135, Devin Haney, after very closely defeating his biggest challenge in Vasyl Lomachenko? What's next for Haney? Does he stay at 135 where the big money fights are, or does he go to 140? In this video, we're going to look at his options, see what he's been hinting at, what he thinks he's going to do, who he's going to sign to, and ultimately what I believe Devin Haney is going to do. Now, Devin Haney, who has had a great young career to this point, obviously 24 years old, undisputed at 135, he gets to choose his own destiny, right? He's a free agent on the market. He's not tied into any long-term deal. So Haney gets to choose what he wants next. But there's some big choices that need to be made. Haney, who's been fighting at 135 his entire career so far, the weight's too much. It's too little for him. He's getting bigger. He needs to be at 140. Eventually, Haney will be at 147 in no time. But he needs to be at 140. And he's expressed that he wants to go to 140. Well, the problem is the big money fights, like I mentioned, are at 135. Let's just look at these fights, right? Obviously, one of the biggest draws in boxing, arguably either the face of boxing or number 2 on the face of boxing list, Gervonta Tank Davis. That fight would do ridiculous numbers, and it would be one heck of a fight. We saw Tank do over $20 million in the gate for his Ryan Garcia fight, over 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. There's not any bigger of a fight you're going to get if you're Devin Haney. Next, at 135, Shakur Stevenson. That's some guy. That's a fighter that Top Rank has been promoting to fight Devin for years now. Bob Arum has talked about Shakur fighting Devin. After Shakur's win on April 8th, they asked him in the ring, and he basically said, "Yeah, I've gotten the better of Devin my entire career. That's no issue." Then he jumped in the ring, Shakur did, after Haney beat Lomachenko, and I'll show you the picture right now. This picture's gone everywhere, him looking at Haney, and Haney, I believe Haney was walking out the ring, and he was like, "I'm number 1," or "I got the belts," and Shakur hit him back and said, "For now." That's a fight. Again, another great fight at 135. And then finally at 135, does Haney do a rematch with Loma? Personally, I don't think that's going to happen. Just because the way Lomachenko's team has gone about after losing, they've kind of been sore losers, filed motions, done a lot of different things. I don't think Team Haney's going to give Loma the rematch. That's another fight that would do big numbers, as a lot of people, more than I expected, had Loma winning the fight. Granted, you can go look at my recap of the fight. I thought it was a very close fight. I think Haney did enough to win. But if you had Loma, I wouldn't have been mad at you. But a lot more people had Loma winning. And a rematch could be like the Floyd-Maidana, where a lot of people had Maidana winning that first one, and Floyd comes back and schools him in the second one. So does Devin go that route? We'll see. But 140, that's the natural weight that I think Devin needs to be at this point. What are some choices at 140? First off, Regis Prograis, belt holder at 140. He fights next week. Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez winner. Winner would have a belt. Ryan Garcia. I believe the Ryan Garcia fight, if at all, will happen in the future, but he's going up to 140. They've expressed interest in the past that they fought 6 times in the amateurs, split record 3-3. I believe Ryan is still going to be a big draw, and under Derek James as the new trainer, I think he's going to be a much better fighter in the future. So I think that's more of a future fight. Rolly Romero. We saw Rolly, who was going to lose to a 40-year-old just in the past month, be able to win, and he has a belt at 140. So does Devin, who wants belts. He talks about legacy and getting those belts. We know how much Undisputed means to him. Does he look at Rolly Romero as, hey, I can go get a quick WBA belt? I don't know. But part of this is who's Devin going to sign with? Because who's going to offer who? Because while I think the Tank fight obviously is the biggest fight almost in boxing, I don't think Devin's entertaining Showtime, or nothing that's been talked about has been Devin's looking at Showtime. And I think the only way Devin fights Tank is if he signs with Showtime, and there's no indication that's going to happen. So let's look at the 2 options right now that are kind of being put out there. First, Top Rank. Stay with Top Rank, re-sign with Bob Arum. I don't know how the relationship is with Bob and Devin, because Bob clearly thought Loma won, and he's clearly thought Loma would beat Devin for all these years. So I don't know if Bill Haney or Devin has any sort of feelings towards Bob, but reportedly This is the three fighters that Bob has put out for Devin if he were to come back to Top Rank and want to fight. First, Shakur. They've been building this fight up forever. I think Top Rank thinks of Shakur as their guy. I also think they want Shakur to fight Devin, so if Shakur wins, Shakur gets all the belts at 135. They keep Undisputed in-house at Top Rank. That's my belief. Also giving him an option to rematch Loma. I think Bob probably wants that the most. I think Bob, he said afterwards he thought Loma won 8-4. So I think that's probably the one Bob wants the most. Again, I don't think that's happening. I don't think Haney's fighting Loma again. And finally, Josh Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez winner. That comes on later this week. I could see that. That's at 140. And I think that'd be a good fight. That'd be for a strap, a belt. Whoever the winner of that is. And Teofimo's talked crazy from his time down in 135. If he wins, does Devin try and shut him up at 140 and make a very solid debut impression at 140? We'll see. I think it'll really depend on who wins that fight. Right, so that's Top Rank. That's Bob Arum. Let's look at Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, who Devin has already been a part of. That's the thing with Devin. He's been a part of Showtime, DAZN, and Top Rank because he signed these short deals. Very smart by him. And he's maximized his value. Going back to Matchroom with Eddie Hearn, Eddie's offered a Regis Prograis fight. That, of course, is at 140. Prograis holds the WBC belt. He has to defend it this week. I believe he will. Haney's going to be ringside. I think this might be the most likely matchup. I'll tell you what my prediction is very soon. But right now, I think the way conversations have been leaning, I think this is the way Haney's going to go. But we don't know, right? If he attends the fight, we'll see. Does he hop in after the fight and say, let's make it? Devin put out these tweets basically saying, kind of confirming that he's kind of looking at a Prograis fight. Prograis called him out on Twitter, talked about, hey, come pull up to the fight. We'll show you some hospitality, everything. Haney retweeted, as you can see on the screen. I'm thinking about it. I'm assuming Eddie told you about that little call I just gave him. So, okay, Devin's interested in that fight. Then Devin, about 7-8 minutes later, responds to his own tweet. And for the record, I called Eddie about making a Regis fight. He didn't call me. So I think that's Devin's impression. I think Devin really wants to go to 140 and fight for a strap immediately. That's what I believe. I'll give you my prediction right here. I don't think he fights at 135 again. But I think he'll go up to 140, keep the belts at 135 just in case, right? Just in case. I think he will fight Prograis because I don't think he wants to do business with Top Rank and Bob Arum that much. I don't believe that. The only way he does business with Top Rank is with a 140 matchup. That's what I believe. At this point, I don't think he wants to fight Shakur. I think him and Shakur are destined to meet up at a higher weight class, not at 135. So I think if he were to fight on Top Rank, it would be against a Josh Taylor or a Teofimo Lopez. So my prediction, go to 140. We won't see him at 135 again, but he'll go to 140, keep the belts at 135 just in case, say a potential tank fight, the money's right. But I think he goes to 140, fights Prograis while keeping the belts, and then eventually says, yeah, I'm staying at 140. And maybe a Shakur fight down the line. Who knows? We all know that'll be an amazing fight whenever it happens. But for the people that think that Tank Davis is next for Devin Haney, yeah, I don't think that's the case. Either way, I can't wait to see what's next for Devin Haney. Young fighter. I think really any of these options are good ones. Going up to 140 or staying at 135. I think it'll be all good options for Devin Haney. Selfishly, I want to see Tank versus Devin. I think a lot of people also want to see that. But a Prograis fight would be amazing too. Either way, we're tuned in. I appreciate you for tuning in to the Never Drop podcast. If you're new here, like, subscribe. Hey man, boxing's going crazy. Keep up with all the latest coverage. Not just Devin Haney. We're talking Spence Crawford. We're talking Boots Ennis, Virgil Ortiz. Boxing's going crazy. So just like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. It's a Never Drop podcast. Peace. I'm out.